Inclusion and student diversity are important, and the Visual Arts Lesson Introduction to Drawing Printmaking Stage 4 Year 7 accommodates all student learning needs. Explicit teaching and learning approaches of the lesson support inclusion for English as an additional language and/or dialect, and gifted and talented students. My IL student English language level is at the consolidating stage. The student's learning profile demonstrates their use of Standard Australian English SAE at the proficiency level. My gifted and talented student has above average competency in intellectual, creative, and social fields in art practice. Akara State students at the consolidating stage are still developing control over English grammar and building their vocabulary. Therefore, visible learning strategies are used in the introduction of the lesson. Hattie advises facilitating clear learning goals and success criteria to inform students about the lesson ahead and measure their progress towards lesson outcomes. The curriculum content and teaching strategies of the teaching area, Australian Professional Standards for Teachers APST 2.1, focus on art making, art critical practices and art histories, and are combined through the domain of visual art to support student participation APST 4.1. The independent learning activities are task-based and model in steps to facilitate my ILD students to gradually have control of their learning. The curriculum content is differentiated and viewed through the two-dimensional structural frame and the conceptual framework artist artwork world audience. Essential knowledge, understanding, and skills students are expected to demonstrate in art making practice. VAS 4.1 students use a range of strategies to explore different art making conventions and procedures to make artwork, and VAS 4.3 make artworks that involve some understanding of the frames. The conceptual frameworks, critical and historical studies, VAS 4.8, students explore the function of and relationships between artists, artwork, world audience. The syllabus outcomes represents a progression of learning and provide a basis for students to move forward to the next stage of their learning. Considerations for classroom management and student diversity are based on what art resources and equipment are available, art materials, assistant technology, and the limitations of the classroom studio. The lesson also considers the time to settle the class into work and how long it will take to pack up and clean up art materials at the end of the lesson. For student safety and well-being, a curriculum risk assessment is in place for hazards, risks, and suggested control measures for art curricular activities, equipment materials, hazardous substances, and sharp implements. Posters are in place in the classroom studio in which students are informed of safety requirements when using art materials. The pedagogical teaching and learning strategies support the practice of collaborative instruction, explicit teaching, constructive feedback, scaffolding, pair share, and tiered learning to benefit all student interactions. These teaching and learning strategies scaffold all learners to successfully apply their knowledge and understanding of visual arts processes, materials, and techniques to demonstrate an understanding of printmaking and drawing, and the technical skills needed to create an edition of relief prints. Teaching strategies include continuous monitoring and evaluation of student learning for successful learning outcomes and goals. Cross-curriculum priorities and capabilities, literacy, and critical and creative thinking are embedded into the programming of the lesson plan. Students learn about how visual arts conventions communicate meaning by comparing artworks from different social, cultural, and historical contexts, including Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander artworks. Differentiated content of printmaking processes, materials, and techniques is relevant, authentic, and engaging, and provides a reasonable challenge to all students to demonstrate what they know and can do. Visual aids, handouts, a vocabulary word bank, art materials exemplars, and the use of assistant technologies to explore art history and context are provided in the studio classroom to support student participation and scaffold students to develop a broader and deeper understanding of art making practices. This approach affirms Churchill and others, fosters and maximizes opportunities for all learners, including ILD and GITS, to understand at different levels the same teaching concept or topic. The assessment tasks align with the curriculum syllabus outcomes and what will be taught, and have the appropriate scope and scale for students to demonstrate the aspects of the achievement standard. Teaching strategies and assessment activities are task-based to facilitate the creation of collaborative projects in an all-inclusive teaching and learning environment that considers student belonging and well-being. The holistic approach to collaborative art projects fosters student teamwork and shared decision-making to successfully achieve their learning goals and outcomes. In a whole-of-class teaching and learning environment, my skilled and gifted and talented students learn to negotiate, compromise, and appreciate different perspectives in art making and encourage them to discuss their creative choices and justify them. Formative assessment activity tasks focus on evidence of learning outcomes relevant to syllabus content. Reasonable adjustments are made to certain assessment activity tasks to ensure ILD and GIT learners have multiple opportunities to interpret information and express their understanding. The use of formative assessment in the classroom to promote learning affirms Black and William improves student achievement. Good practice for constructive feedback to improve students' learning and engage the student experience. The assessment for learning consolidates students' literacy and critical thinking skills by encouraging students to analyze and interpret visual information. Assessment for learning strategies include explicit questions and answers to evaluate students' prior knowledge, observation of classroom task-based activities through discussions and constructive feedback to all students, and the exit ticker of the lesson is evaluated through student self-assessment documented in their visual diaries. To conclude, assessment tasks are guided through discussion and feedback. Students explore visual conventions and apply different forms and design principle processes of printmaking techniques to create artworks. At the end of the lesson, students are brought back together as a group and asked to share their artwork designs and experiences with the class. Students discuss the challenges and benefits of using ink as a drawing medium and the effectiveness of repetition, pattern, and rhythm techniques to create depth and space in their drawing. The exit ticket to the lesson students are required to record their experiences of art making in their visual diaries.